In at number 10, Gigi and Bella Hadid. This family of models is actually referred to as the first family of fashion and combined are worth more than $57 million. Gigi and Bella's parents were both immigrants in America when they began in the modeling industry but would end up divorcing in 2000. Their mother Yolanda Hadid moved to the US from Holland when she was only 16 years old and worked in NYC as a model so that she could send money back to her family. Their father became widely known as a real estate tycoon after developing massive residential mansions and the Ritz-Carlton hotels around the world. His company Hadid Design and Development Group has brought him in an estimated net worth of $400 million, although his daughters have taken being famous to a whole new level. Their multiple modeling campaigns combined with dating within the entertainment industry has made them both household names. Their mother also starred on Bravo's Real Housewives of Beverly Hills from 2012 to 2016, but her kids, who would make rare appearances on the show, have definitely surpassed this level of fame. In at number 9, Rashida Jones. Rashida Jones is the daughter of the great Quincy Jones and Peggy Lipton. Peggy was an actress that appeared on a few popular television shows throughout the 1960s before landing her defining role as flower child Julie Barnes in the crime drama called The Mod Squad. Her father Quincy Jones has had a massive career in the entertainment industry that spans over 60 years with a record 80 Grammy Award nominations and 28 Grammy Awards to his name. There is no doubt that Rashida's parents are super famous, but Rashida has built her own mainstream fame as well. She first captured our hearts as Ann Perkins on Parks and Recreations, but much like her parents, Rashida worked hard in all aspects of life and entertainment. To pay tribute to her famous father, she even produced a documentary called Quincy that debuted on Netflix and won the Grammy Award for Best Music Film of 2019. In at number 8, Angelina Jolie.
Involved in our business, but they grew up. It's just like anybody, like you grow up, your parents, whatever they do, you're in it, you see everything.
Angelina and her father John Voight are among the very few father-daughter pairs that have both actually earned Oscars for their acting talents. John won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his role in Coming Home in 1978, as well as the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in the same role. He has no doubt established himself as an A-lister in the industry, but his daughter would become much bigger than he would have ever imagined. Angelina Jolie became widely known for her edginess as a performer as well as her humanitarian work outside of the industry. She won an Academy Award for her supporting role as a mental patient in Girl Interrupted in 1999, and from there her fame has only risen. Although what's great about this family is that they have no problems acting together. The pair even worked on the film Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and John actually got to play her father in the film as well, which is kind of nice. In at number 7, Kate Hudson. There is no question that Kate's mother Goldie Hawn is a legendary figure in the world of acting and entertainment, although because she isn't typically in the spotlight anymore, some may view her daughter as now being the more famous one. Goldie became famous for her vivacious personality and comedic persona in films like Private Benjamin in 1980, and for more than 3 decades, Goldie Hawn ruled over Hollywood and became one of their biggest stars. Although even Goldie admits that her biggest accomplishment was her children. Kate Hudson is best known for her role as Penny Lane in the Hollywood film called Almost Famous, which brought the actress an Academy Award nomination. Kate's passion to motivate and support women to lead healthy and active lives led to her creating a company called Fabletics. This branching off into the business world is also what helped Kate achieve a higher status of fame than that of her parents. In at number 6, Michael Douglas. Much like Goldie Hawn, Kirk Douglas was one of the biggest and most recognizable actors in the world. Although his son Michael Douglas has certainly given his dad's acting resume a run for its money. Kirk Douglas became a critically acclaimed actor when he starred in such films as 1952's The Bad and the Beautiful, as well as the 1956 film called Lust for Life. Perhaps one of his biggest and most memorable roles, though, was when he starred in the 1960 classic Spartacus alongside the great Laurence Olivier. Although his son became uber famous with films under his belt like Wall Street and Fatal Attraction. Michael has received numerous accolades, including 2 Academy Awards, 5 Golden Globe Awards, a Primetime Emmy Award, the Cecil B. DeMille Award, and the AFI Life Achievement Award. Although his father lived to be 103, it must have been incredible having him around as an acting teacher. It's no wonder Michael became so successful in the entertainment world. I mean, Kirk Douglas is the GOAT. In at number 5, Jennifer Aniston. John Aniston has been working in show business since 1962 and started his career with many small roles on various television shows. Although his career really took off when he signed on to the soap opera called Days of Our Lives in 1968. However, a soap opera star pales in comparison to what his daughter has been able to achieve in her career as an actor. Growing up, John never let Jennifer watch any television, but that didn't hold her back from wanting to follow in his footsteps. She began working on a number of failed television series before she landed her role as Rachel Green in Friends. This show absolutely launched her career and made Aniston become arguably one of the most sought after actresses in the 1990s and early 2000s. And she's still relevant today too. In at number 4, Lenny Kravitz. Lenny's mother, Roxy Roker, portrayed Helen Willis on the CBS sitcom called The Jeffersons from 1975 to 1985. She also made history for being half of the first interracial couple to be shown on regular primetime television. Huge historical moment. And throughout her time as an actress, she exhibited so much raw talent in the industry and would continue to break down barriers in Hollywood. After meeting television producer Cy Kravitz and getting married to him in 1962, 2 years later she would bring Lenny Kravitz into the world. There is no doubt that Lenny got a little bit of his swagger from his mom, and when he released his second album called Mama Said, it would solidify him as a superstar in the music world. Lenny would go on to win the Grammy Award for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance 4 years in a row. That is a stunning achievement and a true testament to this man's talent. In at number 3, Ben Stiller.
Doesn't feel well. He has a temperature. What's the matter with you? Don't touch him.
If I ever heard it in my life. Come
Where
on,
were
get
you?
him out
You
there.
don't know anything. Where were you when he was born?
Between being raised by Jerry Stiller and his mother Ann, their everyday life must have been just filled with laughter. While appearing on the Today Show, Ben fondly remembered his famous parents and spoke about how the comedy duo met each other. Jerry first impressed her when they went for coffee at a cafeteria in New York City. She asked him if he would steal her some silverware because I guess she needed a second set in her apartment, and once he did, she knew that he was the one. The two starred together as a comedic team that appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show and The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in the 1960s, and also worked together again in their later years on The King of Queens. After giving birth to Ben in 1965, and with him later getting involved in the business of comedy as well, the Stiller name became widely known. Ben Stiller earned everything though, from hard work and just dedication. He won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Writing for a variety music or comedy program for his work on The Ben Stiller Show, and he has also been nominated 12 times for the Teen Choice Awards, and once won for Choice Hissy Fit for his work in Zoolander. In at number 2, Charlie Sheen. Martin Sheen first gained popularity with his film performances on The Subject Was Roses in 1968 and The Badlands in 1973. From 1999 to 2006, he was best known as President Josiah Bartlett, and since 2015, he starred as Robert Hansen in the Netflix show called Grace and Frankie. In 1961, Sheen married Janet Templeton, and they went on to have a daughter and 3 sons, including Charlie Sheen. Aside from Charlie's wild Tiger Blood interviews, he has won a Golden Globe Award for Best Lead Actor in a television series for his performances as Charlie Crawford on Spin City in 2002. However, he is much better known for playing Charlie Harper on 2.5 Men, and he got 2 roles with his own name. How great is that? At the height of his career with the show, Charlie was the highest paid actor in television history. He was earning $1.8 million per episode, and after 100 episodes of the show Anger Management, he was taking home $2 million an episode. That's a lot of cash. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Miley Cyrus. Don't get me wrong, Billy Ray's Achy Breaky Heart was a huge song, and he is without a doubt a country music legend, or just a legend in general. However, when his daughter became the star of Hannah Montana with him taking the co-star position, the household dynamic flipped hard. Billy Ray's estimated net worth is around $20 million, but Miley has more than surpassed him with a net worth estimated at around $160 million. Even on the TV show, when she was just a kid, she was making $15,000 per episode, and then even more money when she started doing the Hannah Montana tour. Just making it hand over fist.
Starting off our list at number 10, we have Eminem. The rapper has always been very open and honest about the dysfunctional childhood he had, which was filled with abuse and poverty. He describes his childhood as the scraping the bottom of the barrel kind of life after his parents didn't have a home and just dragged him around the Midwest, staying in different motels. His father, Bruce Mathers, deserted him and his mom when he was just a baby. As for his mom, Debbie Mathers, she was in and out of his life throughout the remainder of his childhood. She also had another son with another man, and at one point left Eminem with his great aunt and uncle, who just did their best to raise him. But even when he was in the care of his mother, he says that she was very towards him. He eventually went through school but got bullied so bad physically that he was in a coma for a few days. That experience later turned into his 1999 song called Brain Damage, if you've ever wondered. When he was just 17 years old, he dropped out of school and went on to chase his dream of a rapper, and the rest is pretty much history. But you should watch 8 Mile if you don't know how that happened. Moving on to number 9, we have Leighton Meester. This one is by far one of the craziest celebrity birth stories I have ever heard. In 1986, Leighton's mom was in prison after being arrested for smuggling illegal substances out of Jamaica. Turns out she was serving her time when she was pregnant with Leighton and still had 16 months left of her sentence, which means that Leighton was born in jail. She wasn't physically born inside a jail cell, her mother was actually transferred to the hospital for the birth. The now Hollywood actress spent spent the first few months of her life in a halfway house before eventually being placed in custody of her grandmother until her mom's release. After being back in the care of her parents, they got divorced and faced a ton of financial struggle. But despite all the negative things in her childhood, Layton does not hold it against her parents. In all her interviews, she says that they are good parents and she has a lot of good childhood memories. Up next, number 8, we have Soon-Yi. Her life became one of the biggest controversies in 2020 after her relationship with her adoptive father became a lawsuit. She was born in South Korea around 1970 and actually has no birth certificate. Her approximate age was determined by bone scans. In 1976, she was found living on the streets, eating out of dumpsters before being adopted by Mia Farrow and Woody Allen, who had huge careers in Hollywood. Years down the road, when Soon-Yi was in high school, Mia found inappropriate nude photos of her in her husband's home. The truth was later revealed that the two of them actually had an ongoing romantic relationship with each other, and that continued on to present day. They are now married to each other despite being father and daughter through adoption papers. Soon-Yi is now 50 years old and Woody is 85. This strange relationship opened up a lot of other secrets in the family, with one of his other daughters claiming that he also did inappropriate things with her when she was a child. As of right now, the lawsuits he is facing are still unsettled. Sliding into number 7 is Drew Barrymore. You would never know the struggles she faced in her childhood based off her successful career and always beaming smile. But her childhood was so dark and twisted that she was put into an institution at just 13 years old. When she was just 11 months old, she first appeared in a commercial and then booked the role in E.T. at age 7. Her parents struggled with their own addiction problems, and Drew picked up the habits on her own at a very young age. She revealed that she started pouring liquor over her ice cream when she was just 7 years old, and got drunk for the first time at Rob Lowe's birthday party when she was just 9 years old, all under the guidance of her mother. She went out partying with her mother up to 5 times a week, and at age 12 began trying illegal substances. She was fighting a drug and alcohol addiction by the time she was 13 and had undergone rehabilitation treatment for 18 months. Her father left her and just stopped being a part of her life, and when she got out of treatment, she filed for emancipation from her mom, so she was living on her own at 14 years old. As she got older, she worked at a local cafe and just continued to pursue acting. In spot number 6, we have Lindsay Lohan. Her childhood was spent in front of the cameras as her family had close connections to the show business when her personal career started out. Fans have seen Lindsay's personal struggles in her adult life, like her DUIs and time in jail, but many have wondered if her childhood played a part in any of that. She did have struggles in her family. Her dad was married to her mom for 22 years but filed for divorce in 2007. He struggled with alcohol and substance addiction for many years, even appearing on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. His struggles were also legal issues. He served 3 years in prison from 1990 to 1993, another year in 1997, and 2.5 years in 2004. Her mom struggled too. She was also arrested and charged with a DUI of her own. In more recent times, Lindsay's dad was back in jail in April 2021 for new charges, and her mom was charged on May 4th, 2021 on felony drunk driving. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Brandon Thomas Lee. At first thought, it might be pretty cool to have your parents be Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, but apparently it wasn't all glitz and glam like some of us might have thought. Brandon and his brother Dylan have talked about growing up in a very difficult childhood life. For one, having their mom as the biggest sex symbol in the world was a struggle, as we can imagine. But Brandon revealed that things between his parents were very toxic. The two of them got into physical altercations, and the kids were always in childcare, not being raised by the parents full time. Pamela ended up sending Brandon and Dylan to a boarding school in Canada, so they were separated for a while. As the boys grew older, they did find their way back to mend things with their mom, but in 2018, when Brandon was 24, he got into a physical altercation with his dad and actually knocked him out. Fans see Brandon talk about his relationship with his parents on The Hills, as he was added as a new cast member in the reboot series. Cruising into spot number 4 is Meatloaf. The singer has revealed a lot about his troublesome childhood during interviews and says there are so many things that he has blocked out as a way to cope with it all. He revealed his dad was an alcoholic who would disappear for a few days at a time and said he was physically towards him. As for his mom, she was sick with breast cancer for so long that he didn't have a normal relationship with her, and she sadly passed away when he was just 18. He admitted that it took him 10 years to deal with her death because he had actually run away to California to hide from the pain, and her last words to him were, "Where were you?" The struggle still stays with him to this day, but he says he's blacked out most of his childhood memories, but admits that a psychologist would probably help him deal with it better. Taking over our third spot is Ariel Winter. The actress shared her personal life with the world in recent years, revealing that she missed out on a normal childhood after living in isolation with her mom for 14 years. She grew up in the spotlight after landing a lead role on the TV series Modern Family, and admitted that she had a lonely, intense childhood due to a relationship with her now estranged mother. She explained their strained relationship and said that growing up it was just the two of them, and Ariel wasn't allowed to have connections with other people. She also said her mom emotionally and physically her when she was very young. At 14 years old, she emancipated herself from her mom and moved in with her sister Chanel Gray until she was 18. Once she moved out away from her mom, she was able to reconnect with her dad and said that they grew incredibly close, calling him today a great friend and a good person. Rolling into the number 2 spot, we have Britney Spears. Her tense relationship with her father has made worldwide news after people found out that he had total control over her life and finances legally, and refused to give them back to her. Her father, Jamie Spears, was put under her conservatorship following her public breakdown in 2008 after she was proven to not properly be able to care or manage herself during her mental health struggles. That was over a decade ago though, and people cannot understand how he still has access since she seemed to turn her life back around. Britney has been asking the judge to permanently remove him from her conservatorship, revealing that the two of them have never had a good relationship and that he is not doing it with her best interests in mind. The hashtag Free Britney started in 2020 as the world is now petitioning for her to get the rights back to her conservatorship, which is actually split into 2 parts. One for her estate and financial affairs, and the other for her as a person. Her father still has control of both. We've made it to number 1, and we have Charlize Theron. Not many people know about her traumatic childhood, but she shared it with the world and left people completely shocked. She grew up in a farm in South Africa, and at age 13 she wanted to continue her ballet studies, so she began attending a boarding school that specializes in the arts. During a visit home when she was just 15 years old, her mother shot and took the life of her father in an act of self-defense. Turns out he was drunk and began shooting at her and then threatened to harm the children as well, so she started to shoot back. Charlize says she survived the incident, which she's very proud of, and also thanks her mom for quite literally saving her life. Beginning our list at number 10 is 50 Cent. Before he became one of the biggest rappers in the world, he grew up in a very broken home. His real name is actually Curtis Jackson, for anyone who has ever wondered but been too lazy to Google it. His father abandoned his family when he was born, and his mom was a substance dealer when he was very young. Sadly, his mother passed away when he was just 8 years old, so he was sent to live with his grandma. While his grandma did care for him the best that she could, Curtis seemed to follow down his mother's footsteps and went down a dark path with substances. He was arrested when he was just 18 for possession of a weapon at his high school. Even as his life and career progressed, he still struggled to break away from substances. It wasn't until his son came into the world where he made changes in his life. In 2005, he told People magazine, I quote, "My priorities changed. My son is the reason I stopped doing the things my mother was doing." I didn't even know he had a kid, to be honest. Up next, number 9, we have Nicki Minaj. The singer has been said to have found her set of wings within a broken nest. In other words, she came from a troubled childhood. In 2010, she revealed that her father was an aggressive substance addict who subjected herself and her mother to neglect, theft, and even arson. She spoke candidly with Vibe magazine and said, "When you have a father who is stealing your furniture and selling it so that he can buy crack, you suffer. You come home from school and your couch is gone. You're like, what happened?" Nicki was actually born in Trinidad but moved to New York at just the age of 5. She revealed that she lived in constant fear when she was young, worried that her father would end the life of her mother. But her father did get the help that he needed later in life and checked into rehab and started going to church. Sadly, he was struck by a vehicle earlier this year and passed away. Nicki has said that it has been the most devastating loss of her life. That's so sad. Swiping our number 8 spot is Christina Aguilera. Many people don't know the dark side of her past, and that's because she always puts on a very strong face. Even in her music, she came across as a very strong, independent woman. But in a candid discussion with E! News, fans got to learn a lot more about her personal life and where she came from. During her interview, she revealed that when she was a child, she felt completely powerless against her father, who was very aggressive and violent. She admitted that she turned to singing as an outlet for that. Christina's mother Shelley once remembered a very terrifying incident when she found Christina at just 4 years old with her face all bruised up. Turns out her father was napping and she apparently made too much noise. Her mom eventually left him and took her and her sisters to live with their grandmother so that they could be safe. To this day, Christina says the pain that she felt at home is actually where her love for music came from. In spot number 7, we have Angelina Jolie. The Hollywood star grew up in Los Angeles, which might seem like a dream for a lot of people, but it was not all glitz and glam in her childhood. She says she suffered from depression at a very young age because she just didn't appreciate her life. She talked to the Wall Street Journal and said she couldn't appreciate or understand her life at the time, which led her to be very destructive and miserable. She explained and said, "I was raised in a place where if you have fame and money and you're decent looking and have the ability to work in this industry, you have everything in the world. Then you attain those things and realize you still couldn't be more empty." Things got so dark for her that her childhood caregiver once said that she had to take Angelina to the hospital because her struggles with anorexia were so severe. And for anyone who doesn't know, she was actually born into parents who were already actors at the time, so she grew up in a world of fame. Cruising into number 6 is Ashley Judd. Her on-screen presence would never show that she's been through some traumatic experiences in her childhood, but fans got to learn all about them in her memoir. In 2011, she wrote a memoir called All That Is Bitter and Sweet and revealed shocking details of the neglect, assault, and exposure to substances that she faced when she was younger. Because of how traumatic her life was growing up, she admitted to being severely depressed throughout her life. She said that she was neglected during her mother's rise to fame as a country superstar, which most people might think would be really cool to have a parent gaining fame as a musician. But it was actually the opposite for Ashley, and she was happy to finally share it with the world. When talking about sharing all these very disturbing details to the public, she said, "The shame and the keeping ourselves sick through secretiveness is one of the things we all need to have the courage to undo." Halfway through our list at number 5 is Dylan McDermott. You know those unsolved true crime murder mystery shows that everyone binge watches, and by everyone I mean me? Well, his life was actually one of them. When he was just 5 years old, someone took the life of his mother, who was just 20 years old at the time. The horrific crime was labeled accidental at the time, but still remained as an unsolved mystery for the next 4 decades of his life. His father was in jail at the time of the incident, so Dylan and his infant sister were sent to live with his grandmother before being adopted by his stepmom. Dylan wasn't an eyewitness to the crime, but he did hear shots being fired. In 2011, he took matters into his own hands to get the case reopened for investigation and confirmed that it was one of the suspects. Fingers pointed to her boyfriend at the time, who was known for being violent and addicted to substances. However, the suspect was deceased before being officially accused of the crime. Up next, number 4, we have Missy Elliott. Fans learned a lot about Missy during her feature on Behind the Music, but they never expected to hear about how much she suffered in her upbringing. She revealed disturbing details about how she was assaulted by one of her cousins for the course of a year, too young to really understand what was happening at the time. She also admitted that later down the road she had to experience extreme poverty, which is just a testament to how far she's come having this wildly successful musical career. When it comes to her parents, she revealed that she had to witness some very terrible things growing up, as her father would assault her mother right in front of her. There was one specific incident she remembers from her childhood where her father had threatened to end her mother's life, and her uncle, who lived next door, actually had to come and step in and end the argument because it escalated and got very dangerous. So to say that she's come a long way would honestly be an understatement. Taking over our 3rd spot is Kelsey Grammer. Fans of Frasier would never know the layers of trauma he went through in the early years of his life. His character Frasier Crane made people laugh for years, but he has a very dark past that many people don't know about. He has been open about his life experiences though, and opened up about the time when he was just 13 years old and he lost his father in front of his house. The life of his father was actually taken by a cab driver right in their front yard after luring him outside by lighting their family car on fire. Apparently there was no connection between the cab driver and his dad. That was just the start of his losses though. He actually lost his sister when her life was taken at just 20 years old. He says that the guilt of that tragedy nearly destroyed him. Then, just a few years later, his 2 half-brothers passed away in a scuba diving accident involving a potential shark attack. And then, not long after that, one of his best friends lost his life in the 9/11 attack. He has faced tremendous amount of loss in his life, which played a huge part in his alcohol addiction. Thankfully though, as years went on, he has been able to get sober, and eventually, he just left his pain in the past and was able to move forward. He lost everyone. Like, I can't even imagine his dad, his sister, his 2 brothers, a best friend. Moving on to number 2, we have Oprah Winfrey. Because she has spent her career smiling and helping other people through their own struggles, many people are shocked to know that she went through her own. She had anything but an ideal upbringing and began suffering from at a very young age. She suffered through this trauma by multiple relatives and turned to substances in order to cope with things. When she was just 14 years old, she was sent to live with her father and discovered that she was pregnant at 14. Sadly, the baby boy was born 2 months premature and did not make it past 2 weeks. Oprah has talked about how she felt very betrayed by a family member who sold the story of her son to the National Enquirer in 1990. But in more recent years, she has openly talked about her son and said that she finally gave him a name, which was Canaan, because it means new land, new life. We have made it to number 1, and we have Jim Carrey. This one always hits closer to home for me personally because the legendary actor actually grew up right here in Ontario, and to see how far he has come is honestly mind-blowing. He came from a good family, but things got difficult for them when his father lost his job when he was just 12 years old, and then Jim had to kind of step up and be like that father figure in a sense. Jim has talked about being homeless and how much they struggled to even get by. He revealed that their family lived in a van for a while, and they all had to work together as security guards and janitors just to try and make ends meet. The actor said he had to work a 40-hour work week while being a young teenager just to try and keep his family off the streets. One thing that helped him progress was that he started booking comedy gigs in Toronto at local comedy clubs to make some extra money. So to go from being homeless booking gigs at small venues to one of the biggest comedic actors in the world is pretty crazy and inspiring. I actually just found out he's from Ontario like 2 years ago.
Coming in at 10, Emma Roberts. Love her or hate her, Emma Roberts comes from a very prestigious Hollywood family, filled to the brim with shining stars. Now her last name may give it away, but no, we're not talking Julia Roberts, who yes, is her aunt, but let's talk about her father. Emma's father is Hollywood icon Eric Roberts, and if you don't know who that is, I'm shook. His IMDb page credits him as starring in over 500 movies and TV shows throughout his incredibly prolific career, with such projects as The Dark Knight, Runaway Train, The Cable Guy, and of course everyone's favourite, The Human Centipede 3 Final Sequence. Now, although Emma Roberts may have had some help breaking into the industry, she has certainly paved her own way, with roles under her belt like We're the Millers, Scream Queens, Palo Alto, and Scream 4. Regarding her lineage, Emma said, I quote, I think it's important to choose to make decisions for yourself, and that's part of growing up in any career you have. I think you need to know what you like and what you don't, and how you want to build a career. Preach. Coming in at 9, Kiefer Sutherland. Born Kiefer William Frederick Dempsey George Rufus Sutherland, yeah, I'm serious, that's his name, this dude has had an incredibly prolific career, starring in films such as Mirrors, Phone Booth, Stand By Me, and of course, The Lost Boys, one of the greatest films of all time. I think at this point it's common knowledge, but Kiefer Sutherland is the son of Hollywood legend Donald Sutherland, Canada's treasure, therefore my treasure. Donald Sutherland shot to fame through roles in Oedipus the King, MASH, National Lampoon's Animal House, and for the younger viewers out there, The Hunger Games. Sigh. According to a source, the pair didn't get to spend much time together over the years until they worked on Forsaken together. I quote, it wasn't until the last few days of shooting that I realized this was the most time I've spent with my father. Well, that's just kinda sad, isn't it? Coming in at 8, Amber Tamblyn. I don't know where Amber Tamblyn went, but honestly I wanna know. For a period of time she was shining in the spotlight, starring in films like The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and The Grudge too. However, she has only made small appearances here and there over the last few years, making a handful of cameos on Inside Amy Schumer, as well as 2.5 Men. We don't speak about that one. I need her back, people. Regardless of her career, Amber Tamblyn is the daughter of acclaimed actor Russ Tamblyn, who of course starred in films such as West Side Story, The Haunting, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, Drive, and my favourite TV show, Twin Peaks, and much, much more.
Let's talk about Laura.
Okay, let's talk about Laura.
Bobby, what happened the first time that you and Laura made love?
Honestly, this dude was a king in Hollywood back in the day and still makes appearances here and there, the most recent being in The Haunting of Hill House, where he took on the role of Dr. Montague. All I can say is, I need more Russ and I need more Amber. Give it to me now. Coming in at 7, Charlie Sheen. Look, I hate talking about Charlie Sheen, I really do. I don't appreciate his behavior, I don't appreciate his work, but I do appreciate his incredible lineage. Charlie Sheen shot to fame through roles in films such as Red Dawn, Wall Street, and of course the hit TV show 2.5 Men. He is also the son of Hollywood legend Martin Sheen. If you're unfamiliar, shame on you, but this icon starred in films such as The Departed, Apocalypse Now, Badlands, and The Way. Not only did he create one successful son, he created another as well, Emilio Estevez, the best Estevez and the best Sheen, just saying. He starred in hit films such as The Breakfast Club, The Outsiders, and Bobby. Honestly, sorry Charlie, but there's no topping that. I guess this number should have just been about Emilio. I screwed up. Damn it. Coming in at 6, Dakota Johnson. I'm no lover of Dakota Johnson. I think she's a subpar actress with a terrible attitude. However, I can't ignore the lineage she comes from. An incredibly successful lineage at that. So much so that her mother could have had her own number. For those who don't know, Dakota Johnson shot to fame through her role as Anastasia Steele in 50 Shades of Grey, before going on to star in How to Be Single, Bad Times at the El Royale, and Suspiria. The terrible remake that is, not the superior Dario Argento masterpiece. Anyway, I digress. Some will be surprised to know that Dakota is actually the daughter of Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson, the former an Oscar nominee and famous for appearing in films such as Working Girl, Raw, Now and Then, and more recently, The Disaster Artist. She is also the daughter of Tippi Hedren, aka The Birds. Her father, of course, was known for starring in Miami Vice, Django Unchained, and From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Very impressive. If only they had taught their daughter manners. What a shame. Coming in at 5, Alexander Skarsgård. The Skarsgård family is filled to the brim with a bunch of talented and beautiful actors, one of them being, of course, Alexander Skarsgård, who appeared most recently alongside Nicole Kidman in Big Little Lies as her abusive husband. You will also be familiar with Alexander's brother, Bill, who is shot to fame through the role of Pennywise the Dancing Clown in Stephen King's It reboot. And of course, the father of these talented actors, none other than Stellan Skarsgård, an actor with a slew of awards under his belt for roles in films such as Good Will Hunting, Dogville, Exorcist the Beginning, and of course, Chernobyl. It must be incredible to be a household name in a family of household names. Alexander was once interviewed about his famous dad way back when, stating, "He was a great dad when I was growing up, but it was tough because I didn't get to see him much. He worked 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. I would go to the theatre and hang out backstage to see dad, basically." Sad times. Coming at 4, Bryce Dallas Howard. I love Bryce Dallas Howard, the Golden Globe nominated actress who starred in films such as The Help, Jurassic World, 50-50, Hereafter, The Village, and Spider-Man 3. But we don't talk about that one. I don't blame her, I blame Tobey Maguire. However, this Hollywood icon was famous before she was even born, because her father, Ron Howard. That's right, this actress is the daughter of Hollywood royalty. Ron Howard, for those who don't know, is an actor turned director, and a 2-time Oscar winner for the critically acclaimed film A Beautiful Mind. He also directed Willow, Far and Away, Apollo 13, Cinderella Man, and The Da Vinci Code. He is a legend and one of my favourite directors of all time. Even though most believe his films to be Oscar baity, I don't care. He's great, and so is Bryce, and I will support them until the end of time. Okay. Bye. Coming in at 3, Colin Hanks. Now this one stumped me, and not for the reasons you would expect. Yes, I knew Colin Hanks was related to Tom Hanks, however, I spent years believing they were brothers. Rookie mistake. I did fail maths, so it all makes sense. Yeah, that's right, Colin Hanks is the son of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. Now it would be silly for me to explain the works of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, because at this point we all know. Well, for those not in the know, Tom Hanks has won 2 Academy Awards for Forrest Gump and Philadelphia. He is an absolute legend. His son, Colin Hanks, is famous for starring in films such as King Kong, Untraceable, and The House Bunny, a guilty pleasure, and has paved such a successful career for himself that it's easy to forget who his parents are. However, it is worth noting that Colin Hanks was born to Samantha Luz, who sadly passed away on March 12, 2002. Coming in at 2, Gwyneth Paltrow. I think it's safe to say we all feel the same way about Gwyneth Paltrow, just ever so slightly irritated anytime we see her pop up on the screen. To be honest, I blame her weird company Goop. There's something weird going on there. It's the eggs. Anyway, I digress. Gwyneth is an Oscar-winning actress. Yeah, you heard me. Oscar-winning actress. For what you might ask, Shakespeare in Love. A highly overrated film, but I get it. People love it, I understand. Honestly, I don't know why I'm hating on everyone so hard. I'm going through something, I think. Existential dread. Anyway, Gwyneth Paltrow has starred in some incredible films such as Sliding Doors, Seven, Emma, and The Royal Tenenbaums, arguably one of Wes Anderson's best films of all time. But this isn't about US. What a lot of people don't know is that Gwyneth is the daughter of Blythe Danner, a Hollywood icon known for her roles in Meet the Parents, Paul, and I'll See You in My Dreams. Blythe also has another child, Jake Paltrow, who is also in the industry, but as a director. This family is stacked. And finally, coming in at number 1, Angelina Jolie. Oh, how I miss Angie. I know she's still around, I just generally miss her when I'm not in the process of watching her in a film. Angelina, of course, hit the scene back in 1995 when she starred in Hackers, before she went on to star in hit films like Gia, The Bone Collector, Girl Interrupted, and one of my many guilty pleasures, Gone in 60 Seconds. Did you know though that Angie is the daughter of Hollywood icon Jon Voight? Now they are known to have an incredibly tumultuous relationship, with the pair not speaking to each other for many years. I quote, "My father and I don't speak. I don't believe that somebody's family becomes their blood, because my son's adopted and families are earned." Preach, Angie. Jon Voight is of course famous for starring in Anaconda, Midnight Cowboy, and my personal favourite, Deliverance. He's an incredibly talented actor, although there are constantly rumours about his on and off screen behaviour, which sums up why himself and Angie don't particularly get along.